Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. We've been watching this area well out into the Atlantic for days upon days, and now today the difference is the numbers have gone up, but they've also designated this now as Invest 91. They as in the Hurricane Center. So you can see this shaded area. Still, we're seeing it's got a long ways to go. We're looking at this, we're seeing quite a bit of convection with it, but it's still a very disorganized system, and you're still looking at a lot of this dust, this dry air and this dust, which has got to be affecting this system in some way, because you see it's all around this system, and really it's slowing down its ability to organize itself. And I think this is going to continue to be somewhat of an issue over the next several days as this continues to work its way towards the west. It's just going to carry a lot of this dust with it. Now, eventually, as it continues to make its way towards the west, a lot of the dust just continues to disperse and move out, and you're not seeing as much of that dust. So it's going to get to this point where there's a little enough dust in the atmosphere that it can really start to moisten things up. And I think that's the point where conditions are becoming more favorable for development, and we will start to see a little bit more development, but it does look like this is going to be a process as we go through the next several days. So we look at the different scenarios, and remember several days ago it was looking like this may start to ramp up pretty quickly, and we're looking at, hey, this is probably going to be a tropical depression by the middle of the week. Well, that didn't happen. So we're looking more towards that scenario that this is going to be a weaker system. So just looking at the ideas here, a stronger system would tend to pull more towards the north a bit quicker. A weaker storm or a weaker system is going to continue to track basically on that westerly track with that ridge to the north, really helping to steer this along. And then that also puts it closer to some of these islands as well. Eventually could it cause it to become closer to the U.S. as well. But a big question is, how much does this develop and when does it start to develop? So here we're looking at some of the different computer models. We're looking at the Fox model, where you're seeing that development very, very slow with this system. You're certainly seeing some rotation in this, but you're also seeing a lot of that dust. Notice all the dust really surrounding this system. So here we are. This is going all the way to Monday of next week. And this is still a system that is struggling at this point, but because it is struggling, because it is staying weaker, notice here are the islands. Notice it's staying further to the south. It's not making its way more towards the north. And then you look at the wind speeds with this in the Fox model continues to back off on what we can see. Now, these are the peak wind gust. We're not talking about sustained winds, so we're looking at basically maybe some of these winds gusting up to about 50 miles an hour with this. But other than that, this looks like more along the lines of a tropical depression that would be forming as we head through the weekend and into the first part of next week, but really struggling with this system. So now we're looking at the European, the GFS, and our own Fox model all combined on this map, and you're seeing that area right here, and it is really not all that well defined, but that general idea that you're seeing this is staying much further to the south. You're seeing even the European is keeping it much further to the south, the GFS, and then the Fox model really keeping this a very weak system. So this is going to continue to be something that we watch very closely over the coming days and see exactly when this forms, which that will really help to determine when and where this goes. But it's always difficult when you're dealing with these very weak or ill-formed systems to really get a good handle on where they're going to go, because it's very hard to place an X on something that is not well defined and then try and figure out how that is going to move through time. But we will work on it, and we will keep you updated right here on myfoxhurricane.com.